For my final project, I decided to apply our lessons from the course to explore how Soviet chemist Valery Legasov exemplifies character-driven leadership, specifically with his response to the Chernobyl nuclear disaster of 1986. To do this, we'll be analyzing his values, ethics, and how he developed trust to embody character-driven leadership. First, we will focus on Legasov's values. To understand best his values, it is relevant to explore the external and national factors which shaped his values. The values of the Soviet Union were certainly important in framing Legasov's worldview. Since Stalin's regime, the Soviet Union deliberately formed national values which children were raised to strongly identify with. These values include heroism, sacrifice, and commitment to others. In Plokhy's book, Chernobyl, he argues that Legasov was a believer of the Soviet system, further evidenced by his participation in the Communist Party while he was still a student in Moscow. Legasov's values of belief and trust were not only demonstrated in Soviet political institutions, but also scientific institutions. Legasov believed in the power of Soviet science and the safety of nuclear reactors produced with the help of his institute. However, national values were not solely foundational to Legasov's leadership. Values instilled by his childhood were as well. Although not much is known about Legasov's parents, it is evident by his educational pursuits that values of continuous learning were certainly instilled in him at a young age. Legasov not only expressed interest in chemistry, but also poetry and art from a young age. Plokhy emphasizes that Legasov was a romanticist. These values of heroism, sacrifice, belief, and continuous learning were foundational to Legasov's reaction to the Chernobyl disaster. Now we will discuss ethics and how Legasov demonstrated ethics in his actions during and after the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. As discussed by Lieutenant General Freakley, the study of ethics is about human relationships. It is about what we should do and what we should be like as human beings and members of a group or society and the different roles that we play in life. It is about right and wrong. Len Morella emphasizes that ethics is essential to character-driven leadership. To get commitment, you must be trustworthy. You earn trust by being ethical. In response to the disaster, Legasov was first to go to the highly radiated town of Pripyat. Plokhy describes, like everyone else, he was afraid of radiation, but he had to have the moral right to send others there, so he first went himself. Without much hesitation, he put his own health on the line to save others. While Legasov met with the IAEA to discuss factors leading up to the nuclear disaster, he lamented that he told the truth in Vienna, but not the whole truth. Legasov's report highlighted the errors of operators at Pripyat, but not the flaws of the RBMK reactors. Despite his failures to tell the whole truth in Vienna, Legasov highlighted intrinsic issues in Soviet safety to the rest of the world. According to Plokhy, Legasov's work on the report that he delivered in August 1986 lifted his spirits and made him believe that he could improve safety of Soviet nuclear power plants, but his reception in Moscow upon his return was devastating. Officialdom was unhappy. He had gone too far in divulging the secrets of the Soviet nuclear program. Legasov devoted the remainder of his life to sharing the whole truth behind the disaster. In October 1986, he wrote an article for Pravda arguing that priority of science over the demands of industry and production quotas. Legasov's willingness to sacrifice his own life and health to respond to the Chernobyl disaster echoes General Colin Powell's sentiments in reflecting on the importance of ethics and trust in leadership. His devotion to do the difficult but right thing leading up to his death in 1987 reflects Legasov's devotion to ethics even in the face of unimaginable hardship. Finally, we will be discussing how Valery Legasov earned trust during his response to Chernobyl. According to Lieutenant General Freakley, trust is comprised of integrity, intent, capability, which includes talent, attitude, skill, knowledge, and style. We've discussed how Legasov's values and beliefs demonstrated his heroic, selfless integrity in Pripyat, and also how his ethical and courageous actions both during and after the disaster demonstrated his intent. So finally, we will discuss how Legasov's capabilities solidified the trust that he earned. Plokhy highlights that his peers believed that Legasov was the only competent person there at Pripyat. Throughout Legasov's education, his professors noted his talent and his devotion to values of continuous learning allowed him undeniable competence in the field of chemistry. Additionally, Legasov's attitude during his response to Chernobyl demonstrated to those that he led that he was acting selflessly and earnestly to save the lives of those in the immediate region and throughout the entirety of Europe. Valery Legasov is an excellent example of character-driven leadership. He had unwavering values and ethics despite the oppressive Soviet system. With his ethics, values, and selfless devotion to saving countless lives, he earned the trust of those he led and those he inspired internationally. Ultimately, his devotion to ethics led to his unfortunate death in 1987, but highlights just how central his character was to his leadership. Here are my works cited.